Welcome back, everyone. I'm Sathy, and today's guest walk away from a 500K a year job to take on what might be one of the most underestimated crises of our time, a silent pandemic of social media addiction and digital brain rot. Earlier, he was a co-founder of a fitness tech startup, which was acquired. He built his MVP in just a few weeks using AI without a tech co-founder, and his app has already been downloaded in 93 countries with a 4.9 rating. Pankaj Singh Bora, founder of Monk AI. Great to have you.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so Pankaj, before we get into Monk AI, you've been in the AI space for a while. How has AI actually changed building a startup over the last 10 years?
First of all, I would say like 10 years a pretty big horizon. The world changes very, very quickly in the tech era. So one important thing I would say, the major change actually came like just after ChatGPT's launch. That actually changed the whole landscape of AI and building with AI in general. So I would say 10 years back when I was doing my first startup, which was in the fitness domain, like you already mentioned, a lot of things we had to build manually. Like, in fact, everything we had to build manually. So one important thing was like the time to deliver was very long compared to what it has come to now. As in earlier to start, you actually need to build a whole team, whether it's engineers, designers, to start building it. While now it is more of like all of these things up to some good extent, you could actually do using AI. So like in our case, last time I had like almost 4 people in the initial building phase itself. And this time, even if I had to build like a smaller version of the product, an MVP, but it was like a full-fledged thing. It took me like few weeks to do it. So that kind of change, that was the first thing. Then there are two more things. One is like the time to delivery was months earlier, but now it has come to like few days. So for example, you did your MVP, now you have to iterate on it. All those things, every iteration took like few weeks to a month to go to production. Now it has been like we push version updates every week right now. So that kind of change, and it actually is very important for startups because they have lesser funds, smaller teams. So startups are won by speed of learning. That is like the key to it, and this thing actually have helped them a lot. Last third point would be more of around earlier AI products, or I would say like anything that was built on narrow AI, like machine learning, recommendation systems, and all these other basic initial versions of AI were actually tools in a way. Basically, end customer was not actually interacting with them, or basically software was kind of static in general. So now this has changed. Customers themselves, they expect products that think. They would like to have a conversation with them. They would like to have more personalization on the experience that they're having, and the product has to be adaptive. So this is another thing where now the products have become more intelligent with AI coming in, and this kind of improves the customer experience as well. So overall, teams to individual, months to days, and now tools to intelligent products. So AI didn't just speed up things; it changed what a startup looks like.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting insight on how AI has changed, right? And so you worked in B2B AI environments. What made you go B2C and specifically into something as personal as mental wellness and digital detox?
A great question. So, and this has been asked to me a lot of times. A lot of the new founders, they firstly try to go into B2B domain and solve like problems for enterprises. For us, it was more of like, what do we want to solve? Mental well-being was one area where we were like very much keen and interested to build something in this domain. And that's where we figured out, okay, so it's a bigger problem and it's more of a personal problem. So in B2B space, you optimize for business outcomes, but attention, digital distractions, this is like an everyday thing for most of the people. And for building a product in that area, something where we really felt like we need to actually reach out to the end user. While having a B2B setup, you might be going into corporate wellness or employee wellness category where you are doing B2B2C. In that case, you have one more layer. So I would say it was a bigger personal problem for our users. And that's why we figured out like B2C is the right way to reach out. So we figured out like if we really want to reach scale, if we really want to solve this for most of the people in the world, then B2C is probably the right way to start with. So important thing, doing B2C earlier gave us the leverage to utilize customer feedback and basically engage with them in an easier way. And any iterations that we figure out can be done faster. So this, as we grow further and we mature this product for a wider audience, we can actually go to B2B. And visually, we will use it as a distribution channel to reach out to the end audience. So yeah, so overall, I would say B2C helps us building what truly works, while B2B can actually help us scale it further.
Interesting, right? I mean, yeah, and it's also an interesting way to get a lot of feedback early on from B2C consumers. So, tell us about Monk AI. What inspired you, and what problem does it solve, and who is it for?
Great. So I would say, like, what inspired me is the most critical point here, which probably comes to a lot of people in a different way. So for me, I was I would say probably 1.5 to 2 years back. I was sitting on my couch. My kid was playing on the floor using his Legos and all those things. And then all of a sudden, he came to me and he was like, "Dad, see what I made." I just told him, "Wait for 2 minutes. I will be right back with you." So basically, I was checking Instagram reels and I was like kind of super engaged in that. And as soon as I said that thing to him, he just took my phone, snatched my phone, and kept it away. And he was like, "Dad, you need to talk to me." And that was the moment where I literally felt ashamed about me, that this is the prime time where my kid is literally needing me around him, and I'm there, but I'm still not there. So yeah, so that was the initial moment. That moment actually triggered this whole thing around that I have to solve this screen time problem for myself. As I told this small story to few of my friends, they were like, we are also feeling the same, not from a kid's perspective and all, but in general, like probably they kind of got overwhelmed at certain situations and they're like, I want to leave this, but there is no way I can leave it easily. So yeah, so that was the starting point where I really wanted to basically explore how to solve social media addiction and in general, like the screen time problem. So yeah, so now I have a problem, but I don't know whether it's just my problem or there are a lot many people who feel the same. So I had a small validation from friends, but that doesn't work. So, because not everyone is with the same persona like us. So, for this, I basically went through a whole process of surveying the market, talking to people of different age categories, different demographics, and all. And that's how we figured out like we need to create something which is way more personalized, is because now AI is there, so we can actually do it very, very easily. So we ultimately built this product called Monk AI, which is an AI powered digital detox coach. So when we say digital detox, that's the way you kind of progress towards a direction where you use less of social media and use that time for more productive work or something that you always wanted to do. So yeah, so as of now, in the current state, Monk AI intercepts your cravings and use habit stacking to help you move from something that was taking your time away to something that could be productive or helpful for you. For example, you have a social media, you have Instagram craving in general. So you, as soon as you tap Instagram, it will prompt you to try something else, which is like all the habits that you've picked in the app. For example, drinking water, walking, reading a book. So it will prompt you to do that habit instead. And as soon as you are done with the habit, it will open the app. So till that time, it is actually a block. But the caveat here is we are not focused on blocking. We are focused on gradually moving you towards towards like more of a digital detox setup where you are every time you are trying to open Instagram, we are just giving you an option. So it means like you still have an option to unlock the app, and along with that, gradually there is a training which happens. You cannot just block everything on day one and expect like you will be like that forever. So Monk talks to you and kind of motivates you, inspires you to do something better, which you already mentioned during onboarding that these are the things that I like and all that stuff.
Pankaj, you surveyed over 1,000 people globally, right? So, what did you learn, and what surprised you the most in these surveys?
The top three things that came up as insights for us, the first thing was awareness is high. People are already aware about social media addiction, but the main thing is it's a behavior. It's a behavior change that you have to do to get away from it. So that is difficult. So around 60% of people said they spend too much time on their phones with an average of, I would say, like 5 hours daily screen time. So overall, the issue isn't awareness, it's inability to act in the moment. Second was social media actually dominates attention. So out of all the screen time you have, around 75% goes to social media. So that is a very critical thing. So it's not just phone usage. It's highly concentrated with social media usage. Basically, and as you spend 3 to 4 hours a day on social media, you are actually building a different kind of habit which is taking your time away. The third thing is real world impact is already visible. So from the surveys, we figured out that there are three major problems that most of the people came up with. First was social media addiction. Second was sleep deprivation. Third was majorly around productivity loss. So, and there was another a few more questions which kind of related this whole thing, and we figured out that social media is actually affecting the other two things as well, sleep as well as productivity. So people consistently reported decline in sleep quality, productivity loss, and there was an intersection between screen time, how much screen time they have. So yeah, so initially I was not able to connect these whole things, but as we surveyed, we figured out if we solve this problem, it might affect and improve people's sleep quality as well as productivity. So overall, the biggest takeaway was that this isn't a future problem. This is something which is already happening, which is currently happening, and this is affecting people, how they sleep, how they work, how they live today. And time is very precious. And when social media is taking your time, you're actually not getting enough for yourself. Yeah, so we are trying to help people reclaim it back.
Pankaj, so the approach that Monk takes is different, right? You're not really blocking social media usage. You're trying to actually reduce it gradually. So, how does that actually work? Can you explain it to us?
One important thing I would like to highlight here is that social media is not bad. We don't say that social media is bad. It has definitely has some good use cases as well. But the important thing is when it becomes an addiction where you are doom scrolling and you are on your phone for like hours and hours, that's where it becomes pain in your life. And that's where it is something which need to be solved. In general, like there are three major things that Monk AI does, and it has a philosophy around it. First is we believe in intervening at the moment of craving. So exactly when you have that craving to open Instagram or TikTok, it will just show up and tell you that do you really want to do it? Like in different kind of situations, it will try to pitch you in a different way. So do you really want to do this? Why not do something which is more helpful and which you already have in your checklist? So that is one. So most tools work before or after your usage, but Monk steps in right when you open a distracting app. So that's where the real decision also happens. So I would say there are few techniques that we're using here. So that is the second point, which is craving delay and habit stacking. So we introduce a small pause to break the automatic loop because you are actually doing it automatically. You're doing it in autopilot when you scroll. Then we suggest a tiny alternative, which could be as simple as quick breathing exercise or quick reset or just a sip a glass of water. So you're not just stopping a bad habit. I wouldn't call it like a strong bad habit, but it has become a habit now when you when you say about social media addiction. So you're replacing that in the moment. So you had a craving, we tried to delay it, and then suggested you alternatives which could actually work for you better and might motivate you to do them. Third important thing was gradual reduction, not forceful blocking. So like you already mentioned. So we don't rely on strict blocking by default. Over time, these small changes compound and reduce usage naturally. So that's where the friction gets less and you can actually change the behavior up to some extent. The goal is long-term behavior change, not short-term control. So yeah, so we are not trying to block behavior. We are rewiring one moment at a time.
I want to hear about the hustle stories of during the early startup stages. Tell us a bit more about that.
Startup is full of hustle. You always have to be on your toes. But in my in our case, I would say there are two main stories that come to my mind right now. The first one is during the initial days when we were about to launch our product and basically still building it, getting validations and stuff. So, and this kind of relates to our surveying thing as well, like how many people we surveyed. So, out of those, almost 400 people we surveyed at a single location in 3 days. So that was a TechRedge Disrupt event in SF, and me and my few of my team members, we went there and we literally talked to like 400 people in 3 days. And by the time the event was always almost over, almost everyone knew us. So they're like, I've seen this guy. He was talking to us yesterday. He's building such an amazing product and all that stuff. The most important thing that why we picked this event was because it had attendees coming from like 20, 30 different countries, and it had around 10,000 attendees over there. So it gave us very good leverage of different graphics of audience, and most importantly, almost 60% people whom we talked to and whom we actually met there As soon as we told them that what we are building, they're like, I also have this problem. I need this app. So that was quite exciting. But the important thing is like the kind of hustle that we had to do for this event was like we were not able to buy a stand which was costing around $10,000. So we thought, why not do guerrilla marketing? And we literally spread around the venue, met people at conferences and all that. Most importantly, end of every day, we used to stand outside holding our card shaped pamphlets, and like initially for the first time when you are doing it, you feel bit of hesitation just talking to strangers and like pitching them, especially when they are walking on the sidewalk and you're just standing across. So it was very difficult. Like I had to literally push myself 10 times. I used to just pitch two to three people, 10 people just walk away and thinking like what I'm selling, what could I be doing and all that stuff. But as I did that, the people who actually responded, who actually came and asked like what you are doing and all that stuff, that kind of motivated me every time. So I tried it many times, but as soon as I find a person who is actually trying to give you initial responses, that kind of pushed us. Main problem for anyone who is doing this kind of job, I really salute to them. Any kind of credit card salesman or all these other people who literally do it on the streets, talking to people, selling something. I have a huge respect for them. This is not an easy job. So irrespective of what you have achieved in your life, what kind of profession you do, this is one of the toughest profession. So yeah, so this is like one small story. Another one was like kind of little quirky. So we were making a small demo of our app, and that small demo was kind of telling you what this app does and how it impacts and all that stuff, and it is part of the app as well. So we are all guys team, and we created this demo and figured out like let's create multiple variations of it. So it is like a hand tapping on phone at different locations and showing how the app works. So we created like two different variants. One was a male variant where a male hand was doing it, and another was a female variant. The exciting part is, since we are an all guys team, it was very difficult to figure out like how do we do it. We tried all the AI tools to make that female hand, and nothing worked because you are using a real app, real phone, and on top of that, putting an AI hand was not convincing enough for us to go for. So that's when like I had this conversation with the team that they told that AI is not working and all that. I literally just did a setup where I shaved my fingers, got fake nails from my wife, and got it painted with the brand color of our app. And I just used it. And like it's so, I would say, like very exciting part of it that we were hustling, we were even doing scrappy solutions for a problem. But somehow this particular variation did almost twice more conversions than the male hand. So yeah, so that's one of the learning as well. Like sometimes when you are limited with resources, even the scrappy solutions that you built could actually work. The most important thing is you have to keep on trying, and yeah, and this is a long hustle. You have to just stay there and keep doing. Yeah.
And you got half a million impressions on that. What was that like?
I would say not half a million. So we also posted that on Reddit, where we were like the most viewed post for a month. So like on one of the subreddits, but like I would say on the app itself, it is kind of funneled from number of app downloads you have, then how it converts. So
Pankaj, why don't you tell us a bit about your experience with vibe coding?
to be honest, like for the startup founders of current generation, this is ideally your co-founder. Your first tech co-founder is all these coding tools which use AI. So I would say the major differences that vibe coding has brought in my life, or I would say in this whole startup journey, the starting is not very difficult now. So for example, you have an idea and you really want to build something for it. Earlier you had to find a, if you're a non-tech founder, so you had to find a non-tech co-founder, you have to figure out a designer, like at least like three in a box you need. So but now it is all changed. You literally don't pitch people with the deck. You can actually pitch it with a live product, with something which is way close to what you exactly want to build. So yeah, so in our case, I was a solo founder initially, and it was kind of difficult for me because always all the time I have done startups with a team. So this time it was kind of tricky. Like for the initial 1 month, I was literally going to all the events, figuring out, talking to people, did a lot of one-on-ones with a lot of people, but somehow I was not getting the right fit of for a co-founder, and I was kind of delayed by a month. So that's when I realized, why not just try vibe coding and see where it can take us. and I was surprised for the first time when I use it. I would say the time when I actually did vibe coding, Claude Code wasn't there. So there were like a lot of all these other models on Cursor. So I started vibe coding it. So initial 1 to 2 weeks, like before I actually vibe coded, I had to literally understand like how exactly it works. As in, I was not an iOS developer, so I had to learn that. But as soon as I had this crash course and a thing, I started building on Cursor, and it took not more than 1 week to exactly get a basic prototype out. And then I built like first version of MVP, which was like for a smaller audience, and shared it with my friends and network and everywhere. It got really good feedback because now it's not like you're pitching something, you're literally sharing the product and asking people to do that. So I would say in general, there are three major things which vibe coding has helped us. First is it has, our speed itself went from weeks to hours. So literally you can build a whole feature in hours and have real test cases and things to make it more stable. Second is more of a non-linear productivity. So I would probably put it this way. It is not just faster, it's a different curve itself. So when I said like weeks to hours, it is one thing like in terms of literally building. Another thing is the kind of research and the kind of access you have through these LLMs actually also kind of summarizes key learnings that you need to have while you're building. Third is I would say this is where things get a little tricky, which is now execution is not the play. So product is not the moat. So your moat is maybe distribution. Vibe coding has made this major change where anyone can build anything, but main thing is how you are actually reaching out to people and getting your product distributed. So even if vibe coding is there, the taste and the clarity of the product intuition still is the most important thing. So I would say overall vibe coding is a major game changer. But when you are working in a startup, when you are building something new, there are still not many things which you have to take care of.
I think this is very interesting. Why don't you show us Monk AI and walk us through the product live? Okay.
Cool. Let's see a quick demo of how Monk AI works. So this is the home screen of my app, my phone, and these are like 5 apps which distract me a lot. So these are currently logged by Monk AI. So important thing is every time you are trying to open these apps, for example, I try Instagram. It will show a shield that and tells you like turn screen time into habit time. And if you click on close app, it will just at that moment itself when you see this thing you might just get a push that okay, probably I did it on an autopilot instead of intentionally going for Instagram. This is like very common behavior. So this gives you an option to close the app. Okay, so as you clicked on open Monk, it took you to the Monk AI app and it gives you option to either unlock the app and or you can pick a habit. The important thing here is like there is this daily budget. So for example, my screen time is 4 hours and I set a target that I want to reach a goal of 1 hour. So Monk decides based on how your daily lifestyle is that what kind of daily budget should we start with. So for example, in this case, today's daily budget was around 3 hours and I've already used 30 minutes of it. And every time I clicked on close app, it counted as a resistance. So as in how many times I was able to hold myself. This is like a positive behavior which we want to include. And we have tried to use words to clearly show you what was it. So every time you unlock, that is counted as a wasted time. So there have been some feedback around the language of this, but most of the users have told like this is very effective because I know this is wasted. So important thing is if you want to unlock, you click on this and then it gives you options like for how much time do you want to unlock this. So why we have kept it like 15, 10, 5, depending on, for example, you just have to check a DM, you just have to check a notification or something. You can use 5 minutes, but you have a longer time period, you can use 15 minutes. But so I've kept it, we have kept it little open for the users. So another important thing that happens here is if I go for example, 5 minutes, I hold this button and it does this just like a missile is launching and you're gonna go into a different territory. So now my unlock is there and all those apps are right now unlocked. So you can literally open them and go there. We have tried to use some UX patterns to introduce more resistance, but in a very simple and intuitive way. It doesn't feel like we are stopping you. So another thing is you have habits. You can literally go and edit them. Whatever habits you prefer, you can pick them and add it. And every time you are on Monk, it will try to tell you like, okay, why don't you pick this habit or that habit, depending on the time of the day, based on your preferences. So that is another part to it. And currently all these messages and things, we are using a basic model based on different parameters. It decides what to talk and what to say and try to motivate you a little bit. So, okay, so there is another important thing I would like to mention. I know this is not related to demo, but a core philosophy that we realized why we want to call it a digital detox coach, why it has to work like that is basically like the gym analogy. Most of these other app blocker tools are actually like you got a gym subscription, you are there, and you're literally doing good for a few days and then you leave it, like I mentioned earlier. When you got a subscription, along with that, you get a trainer also hired. So that way, your whole subscription can actually be utilized better and you will be taking it longer. So, yeah, so Monk AI kind of follows that philosophy that if you really want to make a change, whether it's in our case, it's a behavior change, you need to have some sort of motivation, some sort of guidance, which would come through a coach. So, we are building it in more of that persona. So, yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Pankaj, you've distilled how to build an AI first startup into three phases. Can you walk us through them?
For sure, for sure. So I would say and I would say this is the best time if you want to do a startup because the way AI has helped us as well as like a lot of other founders in the market, it has literally reduced a lot of extra burden or baggage that you have when you are doing a startup. So you can literally go towards a direction where you can have something ready and go for it. So I would say if you are already in this journey where you are thinking about an idea and want to build that, so there are three important steps or phases, I would say, in which I can divide this thing and share with you guys. So first is you have to validate the idea. Like that's the core of everything. So right now, because we are using AI, so immediate need of finding co-founders is typically not there. So there are a lot of solo founders in the market who start and build and scale. And probably at that time, whichever stage they feel like they cannot do with AI and they need real co-founders or probably the core team members, they'd go for it. But validation of the idea is the key to it. So I would say when you are in that phase, you might be having not just one idea, probably multiple, and you have to nail it out to one. So in this, my philosophy has been like you just don't think about the single idea. You think about the single domain. So basically the thing that you have to get stuck with or basically get more aligned to has to be the domain first. So for example, in our case, we decided to go for mental well-being as a category, as a domain. Now, when you say mental well being, it has so many problems to solve, like so many things that need to be solved. So, we figured out that we need to get, for example, five top ideas that we have. And around that, we did the surveys. Talking to real users, talking to real customers or potential users is the key for figuring out whether you're going in the right direction or not. So I would say if you go online, build your surveys on all these tools like Tally, Google Sheets, and all, share it across and try to not focus on just one demographic. Try to if you are doing it, for example, in our case it was a mass product, so we literally took care of multiple age groups, multiple locations, and all genders, all these perspectives. You can just easily do it around, use your LinkedIn, use your other network that you have to spread it across. The second is offline. Offline is actually a bit more tricky because you have to figure out places where you can literally meet these people. So I would say tech events, startup events, these are like good places to start with. Depending on which location you are, you can easily find so many networking events happening. So there you can get these feedback and try to, in fact, you can carry your survey form as well if needed. But doing that real conversation actually help, and you can filter out the users with whom you can actually do a detailed interview, like potential customer interview or something. So that is where you can deep dive into journey of different personas of user by literally talking to them. The second thing is because now you have it, okay, you as you get more information, you can actually build like the basic MVP, like a landing page or something which tells exactly what you are doing, what you want to do. So that is gonna be the next part of it, where you build a quick initial prototype of it in like probably few days if you are well versed with these tools, and then start sharing with your audience that this is what we are building. Join the waitlist. So waitlist is something which is a very strong indicator that whether you will have potential customers or not. So future customers or not. So launch your waitlist, just make it public, tell people that this is what I'm building. If you're interested, just join the waitlist. So in our case, this has been a very strong indicator of how people are resonating with our product idea. And the second thing, so not every MVP can be built in few days or a few weeks using cloud code. So just try for a few days and figure out whether it is actually gonna help you, or is it fulfilling your expectations. I could guarantee like 90% of the cases could actually be done by these tools. They might not be have done by coding much so far. So there is another perspective. If you are able to explain your idea in a document, if you can have like a full PRD of what you want to build, so you can literally start there and get something done, which would be enough for you to validate that whether these are the right tools for you or not. So just get the initial one pager PRD. I would say just one pager and use that as a prompt to build what you build through these tools. The most important, if you are a B2C app, probably would more focus on B2C app, because B2B distribution is typically different. So when we say, for example, in our case, distribution is the main challenge since starting. And as we have figured out multiple aspects and experiments, we are kind of understanding it better now using AI. But still, there is this huge component which is driven by humans. So I would say product is not the moat now, distribution is the moat. And the very reason that is moat, because you have to literally have more humans involved in this whole loop, whether you are reaching out to influencers or whether you are reaching out to content creators. So there are two kind of marketings in general. One is push, another is pull. So when I say push is more through all these social channels, Reddit, Instagram and all. And when I say this, that is more of from search. If you have listed keywords on Apple's store search, so this is where user is literally going and searching screen time app, digital detox. So there is a high intent from this user who is coming to the app. There are high chances that it will be downloaded, and there is very high chance that you might be able to convert a trial into a subscription. So basically, these are like broadly two categories. Many more other products that could be included, classified into two categories. Another important thing is the timing of your preparation and basically getting into your go to market as early as possible. For example, in our case, while we had our initial MVP figured out, we had good validation from the market as well. The next phase was making it production ready and available. But along with that, parallelly, we also started investing time on our go-to-market strategy, whether it is figuring out what kind of ads we want to run, whether it is figuring out which influencers we should be targeting. That probably would also help you figuring out your products, features, and things as well. So it's like you built something, you had a small validation from a small audience, and now you are just going to the market with that data. So in that case, there are chances that what you thought, or what there are chances that you might have to do a few more iterations in the product. And to limit this time, to limit this effort and things, while you are figuring out your GTM, the insights that will come from that can actually reduce that extra time you have to effort for further iterations here itself. I would give you an example on this. So initially, we figured out that screen time is something that we could probably work on. But why we changed the whole product's narrative as well as features around it to make it a digital detox coach, not just a tool, but a whole coaching program, was that every time we were exploring a channel, we were able to see a consistent narrative of all our competitors. The important thing, they have almost exploited all the keywords and all the major influencers. And so in that way, you cannot compete with them when you're just starting, like until unless you have a big backing of investors. So we figured out like this is probably not the right narrative for us. We have to have a differentiator. And for our case, that became an important thing which defined our product while we were building it further. Yeah. So overall, these three things.
So, Pankaj, I have a question for you around Monk AI, and you're using social media ads for promotion. So, how does that fit into your brand since Monk is a digital detox coach?
Yeah. Okay, but it's a great question, to be honest, and I was somehow expecting it as well. So one important thing I would say is we were actually reluctant on using social media as a distribution channel, and as we researched further and like figured out like what should be the right way to reach out to our audience, the thing that came in was we have the best way to reach out to these audiences exactly at the moment when they have a need of something like this. Imagine you are doom scrolling on Instagram Reels, and all of a sudden, Monk comes, and you're having some sort of anxiety and all those things because you have been already there for an hour, and at that time, the reel comes in. about Monk and tells you about the product. And basically, one important thing that we took care of is this is more of an awareness campaign that we run on social media. So as soon as you are there, you see this reel from Monk AI, which tells you like how this is a big problem and all. Even if people are aware, having that kind of resonance is with the creative that you have posted is something that helps in actually getting these users to your product. So yeah, overall, the main thing here is even if we knew that we are actually blocking social media, but to reach out to these users who are actually kind of have a problem with this was the easiest way. And yeah, so we figured out even if we are asking people to not use it, if we are able to reach that state, that's when probably we'll not do any of the ads there. But right now, the goal is to help people go out, come out from that trap of social media. And to do that, we have to literally jump into it and get them out.
I think it also makes sense because when someone's already doom scrolling on Instagram, I think they are the perfect audience for your product. So yeah, I think it's a very smart strategy.
There's one more like insight that we figured out. Like all 80% of the installs that happen on Instagram or TikTok every day, they are reinstalls. So as in someone was using it because they've already penetrated the market so heavily that most of the apps, specifically to certain geographies like Europe, US, these geographies are heavily penetrated by these social media platforms. So now whenever a user is, you see the install numbers of these apps, 80% of them are reinstalls. And these are people who, most of these people were actually like kind of frustrated with this addiction and they were like, okay, I will uninstall it. And a week later, they are reinstalling it. There is another important insight that we figured out that when someone is reinstalling or installing an app, they look for the keyword of the app. So, for example, in this case, if someone is reinstalling it, they are going to they will type Instagram on App Store or Play Store. Monkey will come on top and tell like reduce social media addiction. So we are trying to give that alternative even at this platform where they come every day to search apps. And they're coming here at that moment where they are re-entering in that social media addiction. Right at the door, we are there to tell them you can reduce your social media addiction using Monk AI Digital Detox.
Interesting. Okay. So you've been using AI heavily in product development. So how has AI compressed the timeline for founders overall, be it product development or any other use case? It used to take really long. So how is it different now?
Yeah, I would say it's not just time, it's also the budget, the money that you have to spend. And like being a young startup, you probably don't have both of these things enough. So yeah, talking about like as I mentioned, like there are different phases and different optimizations that AI has brought in. The first and foremost is months become weeks when you are building your MVP using AI. And another thing is you need lesser resources to build. So that is again an important budget wise optimization. And third is like because you have better workflow because you're using AI at different layers of it. So any kind of research you're doing or you are creating a PRD, a rough PRD you create and AI can optimize it. All those kind of documentation work, kind of the overload of documentation kind of reduces very much. And now you are actually going to have way better documentation of what you are building versus earlier. So in that way, initially you were a solo founder, but still you are able to have the whole context and the whole documentation of everything that you're building and what you want to build. As soon as new people join in, the onboarding time will reduce dramatically because you have this whole cloud project and things which is shared with them, and they have whole of the context with them. So to be honest, like when I started last time, like the initial cost that I have to put in to bring in resources, the time it got, it was around 20 to 25 lakh in Indian currency. And I would say that kind of money that I invested initially for building the product has reduced to, I would say, few $100s now. So in general, like, it is well known to everyone that AI is reducing your time and making you more
What are
productive.
some of the costs? Can you give us a breakup of that 20-25 lakhs that you talked about?
So I would say we hired two engineers and we had a designer, and they were like top notch quality engineers and designers who worked with us. Even if I count just 4 months or 5 months of the effort that they invested, that itself covers like almost 60 to 70% of the cost. Because we had multiple environments, stable databases, and things like those, we had to invest a lot on infra. I would say like that time infra was a bit costly as well versus now. And so overall, I would say before distribution itself, we had invested 20 to 25 lakhs, which is very different now because product creation is not very difficult. Important thing is how you are optimizing it. That's where real costs come in. So as in having that MVP was fine. You did it, you had something out. But after MVP, when you are really making a production ready product, that's where you need someone who knows tech, who knows how to really have production ready product, because there's so many other things that can involve. So I would say that is where our cost came in this layer, like in this startup's time. Earlier, before even MVP, we had invested enough.
Makes sense. So, Pankaj, we have some rapid fire questions for you. So, one AI tool that you absolutely cannot live without right now.
I guess this would resonate with a lot of people. It's Cloud Code.
Of course. The number one reason most B2C apps fail.
I would say it's majorly the distribution. Like right now, everyone can copy each other's app using these tools. Important thing is distribution, like how you actually reach out to your audience. Yeah.
So, the best piece of advice for someone thinking about quitting their job to build a startup.
Okay, so actually, this is the best time for that. Reason being, you can do a lot of this without spending much time, even before you quit your job. Yeah, so I would just say, like, if you really have some idea or you really want to work on something new, just try to invest some parallel time, like in your day, 2 3 hours every day probably. Try to build an MVP or try to validate using surveys and things before you actually quit your job. That would kind of reduce pressure on you in some way. Another thing is going hardcore. Okay, quit your job and do stuff. For that, I would say you still need some sort of strong motivation to do that, and you will have enough time before you quit your job to do that. And this will happen very fast because now you are using AI.
Let's talk about your screen time. How many hours do you spend on your phone every day?
By the way, like when I started this product, my screen time was around 6.5 to 7 hours a day. To be honest, like I built this product for myself, but right now it is, I would say, around 2 hours, like 1.5 to 2 hours.
What is the biggest myth about building an AI startup?
It's very easy. So when I say it's very easy, like everyone feels like now AI is there and things are very easy. The journey of a startup kind of remains same. As in the three phases I talked about. Okay, one of the phase building something is the time frame is reduced. But now there is more pressure on the distribution phase. So when you talk about distribution, all now social media is so dominant and they have so much market capture of attention that promoting on social media or promoting on any of the major distribution channels is very difficult, and cracking and hacking that path is something where a lot of efforts go in, which people don't realize.
Your favorite book?
It's right over here, Atomic Habits. It's my favorite book. I believe like everyone should read it. It's a very nice book.
All right. Your favorite role model?
A tricky question, but it's still Steve Jobs. I
Yeah.
was confused between Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, but like Steve Jobs forever. Yeah.
Before we wrap, where can people find Monk AI and follow your journey?
Yeah, so right now we are available in App Store. You can search Monk AI and MONK, and you can download it from App Store. It's currently on iOS, and we are very soon launching on Android as well. Our website is monk.zone, and yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn as well, which is Pankaj Singh Bora.
Fantastic. Everyone, download Monk AI and check your screen time today and let us know how it goes. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.